Hi guys, back again. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a situation that I experienced a while ago. And I wanted to share with you how I managed that situation because it was probably one of the most distressing, emotionally charged experiences I'd ever had. And it's interesting when you experience something and then you tell the story of it. And I realize there's a part of me that doesn't want to tell you the story of it because I think really in a way I want to tell you about the journey that I experienced in it, because if I tell you the story of it, you're going to come to your own conclusion. And the thing is, you weren't there, you weren't in my body having the experience, and you won't understand it, to be honest. And I don't need you to understand it. The point of me sharing this is to help me share with you how you can manage very, very distressing experiences. The story is immaterial. I wanted to share with you how I coped with it. Okay, so it was a situation, it happened, and it went on for quite a while. No one was harmed, no one died, and we all got over it, so to speak. But it was the situation and how everyone experienced it, because there was other people involved, and it left me feeling terrified, guilty, worried, anxious. It involved one of my daughters who does struggle anyway with mental health issues, other people that also struggle with mental health issues. And so I was very aware that other people, so it wasn't just something that happened to me, it was a shared experience, so to speak. Anyway, I realized the aftermath. I mean, I was shaking. My cortisol level had shot through the roof. I was on hypervigilance. My anxiety was like 10 out of 10. My heart space felt extremely, it was so painful in this part of my body here. So it was like I was scared, anxious, terrified, all the words, but it just felt like a pain, and I've talked about it. It's like a pain right there, like someone's gripping your heart and squeezing it. And I could tell that my head was going 10 miles an hour. It was trying to get me away from that emotional pain. So remember, the new brain is trying to keep you from emotional pain. And so it's trying to work it out. It's doing the whole woulda, coulda, shoulda. So I should have done this, I could have done that, retracing my own step, blaming myself. It's my fault, I'm responsible. And it was no one's real fault. It was just one of those shitty things that happened. No one meant for it to happen. It was just a shitty thing that happened. It involved dogs, let's put it that way. And so it was just one of those events, and we call it the distressing event, that caused trauma inside my body, which means it caused a splintering off of sort of heart and mind, so to speak. And it went on for about 10-15 minutes. It felt like it went on for hours, but it didn't. It happened in a fairly short space of time. And of course, it's a shared thing. So it's not just me going through it. You're watching other people really struggle with the whole situation. So once it was over, we debriefed. Me and a couple of the people, we were debriefing, talking about it, how awful it was, how much, pain we felt, how worried and anxious we were, and how it was that feeling of utter helplessness. And so we debriefed, which was great because you have that shared, familiar situation that we all were part of, and we could all say, yeah, it was no one's fault. It was just one of those terrible things that happen in life, and no one was to blame. And after that, I went indoors. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to listen to anything. I didn't want to look at my phone. I felt like I just wanted to be quiet, lay on the bed and put my hand on my heart, because I still felt really, the adrenaline was like rushing through my body. So when you're parasympathetic nervous system, comes activated, like everything's on high alert. You can't always think rationally, logically. Your body's in a hypervigilant stance. And I could feel my body. It was like the breath was, shallow. Yeah, it was a pretty intense situation. One I don't really want to ever have again, if I'm honest. Of course, no one does. But anyway, that night in bed, I was really struggling. And I know well enough that I've done this 1,000 times, in little ways, not quite the same as this, but I just laid on the bed, I put my hand on my heart, I held the emotions gently, tenderly, and I gave my brain something to think about, because my brain wanted to come in with visions and pictures, and that's what a post-trauma will do. It will come in with snips and snapshots of the situation, which kind of make you want to shudder, and your body doesn't like it. So I knew my mind was trying to work it all out, and so I gave my brain something to think about. So I laid on the bed, I felt my heart, I held my heart gently and tenderly, and I kept whispering to it, not out loud, in my mind's eye, it's okay, you're safe, and it's over now. And this is the trouble with PTSD. PTSD is about unfinished business. So you have to finish the business. You have to tell your body that it's over and you're safe, because your body thinks it's still happening. That's why the anxiety is peaking. And so I had to say that, and I literally laid in bed all night long doing this. I drifted off at least once, I think, and then I woke back up again. And I gave my brain something to think about. So in my mind's eye, I was just saying to myself, I'm courageous, brave and strong. Because I realised you have to be brave, courageous and strong to manage this kind of stuff. And so I just kept saying it. And I gave my brain, my mind, something to think about, and I held this gently. And I literally did that for the whole night. I woke up, I definitely felt a little bit better. The pain inside my heart had de-tensified, de-escalated, and probably instead of being 10 out of 10, it was probably now 5 out of 10. And just during the day, as I went on my day, I talked again. My daughter was involved in that, so I talked about her. I mean, there was sort of discussions to be had, things to work through, because it wasn't just about me. And so there was a lot of other people involved. I'm very empathic, so I was kind of, not worried as such, because I know worry just pretends to be necessary. I wasn't worried. I was just, I could see that everyone was impacted by it. And I just, for the next day, I was just very aware of holding myself gently, keeping my mind in check. And eventually, the end of the day, I started to feel better. But in the meantime, my head was definitely giving me some strife. It was saying things like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to stay here, I want to get away from this place, because it happened where we lived, and I felt this distinct need to run away, which I think is normal. You just want to get away from situations. So my printer's decided to go off for some reason. And I was very aware of that. And in the end, I actually did say to my partner, actually, I wouldn't mind having a night out. So we actually went away for the night, went and had a spa bath and just relaxed, chilled out, went out for dinner, had a lovely evening, and it was really nice. And so that did me good. I didn't feel like I was running away. I was just giving myself some reprieve, some distance to breathe, and not being where it took place. I just went away. I just sort of went away. And that really helped me de-escalate once more. And so what I would say was, for me, an extremely distressing situation, 10 out of 10, actually by day 2 had gone right down to 2 out of 10. Now I know, sitting there, lying there with my hand on my heart, telling myself I was brave, courageous and strong, really helped me. Doing what I felt the need to do, which was to get away, really, I honoured my own experience, I honoured my own emotions, I honoured what I felt like I needed to do just to give myself some reprieve and some time to get away and de-escalate. 3 days in, I would say that that emotion had completely dissipated. I felt normal. I wasn't overthinking things. I wasn't still struggling with snapshots and visions of what happened. Maybe a slight one, but as soon as it came in, it just seemed to fritter away. It certainly didn't impact on my emotions. And I realized, all the stuff I do all the time, which is what I do, I always, tend to help people manage their emotions, so I'm always kind of tapping into mine. It really helped. Everything I did really, really helped. And it was great because, it was a very difficult situation, but in less than 3-4 days, I was completely back to normal. I would say I've not had a dream, I've not had a worry, I've not had any kind of PTSD symptoms over that. I realized I felt it, and my mind was able to put it in long-term memory. So my mind wasn't coming in with these these thoughts, and that's when you've healed it in the body. So the only thing you have to learn to do is heal it in the body. Now, it's really good that obviously I teach this stuff. I teach this to people all the time. And certain things happen in your life, in my life, and I'm like, oh, how am I going to manage this? Am I going to be able to do what I tell other people to do? And it was really lovely that I could have an experience that was actually very helpful and healing. And I did come through for me. I did do the right thing by me. I really helped me manage that situation, move through it with no other symptoms after those 2 or 3 days had gone by. And so I can see when I'm looking at people that obviously a lot of people haven't learned to do that. That's a strategy and skill that I've learned over the years. And obviously the more you do it when you're okay, when you're not okay, you do it, you can do it. So to help you through those tough moments. So practice makes perfect. And this is why, and it's hard for people because it's like, well, when nothing's happening, they don't really feel the need. But for me, it's like, no, this is something you can practice all the time. It's just about being curious and open and a commitment to self and holding the heart gently and tenderly. And this is the inner child work that I teach people to do. And I'm telling you, it works. I'm living proof of that. That situation proved to me that yes, this is the way the body takes in really distressing experiences and then traumatizes the system. And that's when you have to really lean into connecting that situation and not reliving it over and over in your head, but holding the space inside your heart very gently and tenderly. And so I just wanted to encourage you, if you're going through a distressing situation, maybe something terrible has happened, to lay on the bed, put your hand on your heart, feel the warmth of your hand moving into your heart, hold it gently and tenderly. That pain that you might be feeling, it could be in your belly, it could be anywhere, just put your hand on it. Give yourself something to think about, but something positive. I'm courageous, brave, and confident, or strong, or capable. Because a lot of us don't think we can cope with these kind of situations, and we'll tell ourselves, "Oh, I can't cope with this," and then we wonder why we feel like we can't cope with it. And so, it's a two-way thing, and just see what happens. Obviously, there's no guarantees here. All I do is share what I have learned along the way that works. And so if you have a distressing experience that kind of leaves you feeling traumatized, the trauma is unfinished business. And so we do that by saying, you're safe now and it's over. So you have to tell the body, you're safe now and it's over. And as you feel it and heal it, the mind will put it in long-term memory. So if you're going through something, just give it a go. What have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? And do it every night. I mean, it was a traumatic experience, but, I got over it. I mean, obviously some things require, and I wasn't the sole person that was involved in that situation. I was kind of like a bystander. And so it wasn't like it was, I was at the center point of that. So maybe it was slightly easier for me to overcome that. It doesn't matter what it is, and doesn't matter how long you have to do that. Maybe you're going to have to do that every day, every night before you go to bed. Maybe you're going to have to do that until you don't need to do it anymore. Maybe you can, make a note. Actually, the first night it was 10 out of 10. The second night it was down quite a bit, but maybe in your circumstances it's 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. you know, like just hold it gently and gauge it, notice it, watch it, hold it, keep repeating, you're safe now and it's over, and keep giving the brain, the mind, something to think about. I'm courageous, brave. I mean, I think courage, we talked about that in another video, about it takes courage to go through this kind of pain. Even if you don't believe it, even if you don't believe you're courageous, brave and strong, just keep saying it. I believe it's just a thought you keep thinking after all, isn't it? Anyway, I thought I'd share that experience of how I coped with what I felt was a really intense situation there, and tell you how I overcame it. And hopefully that might help you sit in your uncomfortable emotions from your distressing experiences. Anyway, I will leave it there, all for now.